welcome to 21st Century Vitalism. I'm your host, Brett Kane, and you are tuning in before the winter solstice. It is the darkest time of the year, essentially right now, but hopefully it's not that dark in your own experience. I know with where I'm at, there's actually a lot of warmth here at the HQ, which is essentially just my bedroom, so I'm probably never going to call it that again, but, it is what it is. The solstice is a wonderful time to set intentions as we cross that threshold. We're moving towards more and more light. So now is a good time to just take inventory of where you're at. Let go of things that no longer serve you. And let's all, sorry, that's a lot of gross mouth noises, like slurping and stuff as I'm trying to be quasi-serious here. Let's all move forward to a new future that serves us to the most of our ability. And if you've never done anything like an intention setting, it's super easy. Whatever you feel like doing to set that container, life will meet you where you're at. So just give it a moment, even if it's just 10 minutes, maybe even write down some things that you want to let go of as we approach the new year and as we start moving towards more and more light. Let's use this as an opportunity to bring more light into our own lives. Let's really be present with the fact that this is the darkest time of the year and this is a moment of respite. As we've had a very long and difficult year, we can now start planning within our own energies and experience to climb that ladder, so to speak. Let's climb out of the hole that we've kind of cast ourselves in, if that applies. If you are like me, I've been staying fairly steady. There is some shadows that I'm starting to have to box with a little bit, but compared to years past, I feel pretty solid and steady. I am here for you. I'm here to continue creating content and not falter, and that's just what I'm going to do. Today's guest is the incredibly powerful Amanda Gilbert. Grand Rapidians may know her as the one who started Happy Henna, a business that trains henna artists to adorn folks with the beautiful craft, the ancient craft of henna, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's a form of temporary tattoo that lasts 2 to 3 weeks. It's made with a specific plant dye that you create by smushing up the plant. We get into that. But she's actually starting a new nonprofit. She's done a lot of work with crowning women who are battling cancer with absolutely incredible artwork with this henna, and the work that she does with that by holding space for people who are undergoing such a uprooting, oftentimes mostly traumatic experience. She's meeting them in this dark space and being able to provide a very shining light and reminder of who they ultimately are and the innate beauty that rests within them. And I left this feeling very inspired, very encouraged, very humbled and honored, been able to have held this conversation and been able to give her a platform. I mean, she already has, honestly, a bigger platform than I have, so, my humbleness only extends so far, but I really like this conversation. I really feel passionate about the program that she's doing, and she is starting a Kickstarter to really jumpstart this nonprofit, and I think if you do have anything to spare, I mean, as small as $1, as big as however big you want, there's a lot of work to be done, and this is such an incredible force of nature that's moving through the cancer community, and it really does offer the benefit of just remembering the ultimate truth of who you are while you're going through such a traumatic experience. This exemplifies so much of what I am passionate about, and yeah, I don't want to keep you too long from the conversation because she has a lot of wisdom to share. We talk about the history of henna, the application, her sourcing, how to get trained to adorn people, how to use it as a tool for meditation. It covers every check mark in all the boxes, and I just feel like as the show goes on, I'm just having more and more deep conversations that I'm just incredibly happy to be able to take part of. I don't honestly really care where the viewership is at right now. Thank you so much, by the way, for listening. But at the same time, like, I am getting so many downloads from all the guests that I've been having. Everybody has really showed up, and I am just absolutely floored to have been able to even go this far. I'm very thankful and I have a lot of gratitude. And everybody who's listening right now, truly, I thank you so much for whether this is your first time or you've been following us from episode 1 or second episode, whatever attention you give in this show, I thank you, because it really does help me continue to show up and continue to push my own boundaries. And I do want to take this as far as it will go for the sake of creating community and having more of these lovely conversations. I have an incredible roster. It's about 50 people deep that I'm moving through, and it keeps expanding, and I'm getting more ideas to include, and it all ties into the theme of increasing our vitality, of becoming more embodied, of living a more whole, connected life, having better relationships, understanding how to take care of ourselves, build better communities. It's all here. And yeah, we're doing this together. So before we get started, I do want to just throw out there, if you are interested in this show, if you want to get involved, let me know whether you want to be a part of the conversation. If you know somebody that wants to talk, the email address is 21stcenturyvitalism@gmail.com. Just let me know, even if you have some feedback, if something doesn't sound right, if you think I could have a better delivery with something, if I talk too much. Let me know. Whatever your thoughts are, literally whatever they are, I'm open to hearing them and excited to hear them. If you want to support the show more unilaterally, I don't know, whatever, head on over to Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating. That is podcast gold. That helps me make more of a bargain to advertisers if they do want, of which I would definitely vet very, very closely. I would only rep products and services that I believe in. But it also helps me rise up in the algorithms and extend the conversation to people who need it. It helps me get higher bracket guests, though I already feel like I'm talking to some of the most incredible human beings, but it definitely helps my reach in just about every way. So that helps. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, if you want to subscribe, like, comment, whatever. All that stuff it's gold. I was always so annoyed when a YouTuber would kind of tell me, like, so don't forget to subscribe, but like really it is the lifeblood to making sure that we can do this consistently and with integrity. So I only ask because it is a massive help. It's not an ego boost. It's how we keep these things going, and I truly am grateful for everything. So without further ado, please welcome to 21st Century Vitalism, Amanda Gilbert. All right, Amanda, hello and welcome to 21st Century Vitalism. How are you today?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I am doing fantastic in Texas right now, enjoying the weather. It's much nicer than Michigan.
Yeah, we don't have snow yet, but I'm sure it's not as nice as Texas. What brings you out that way?
So I have been traveling, making connections for the nonprofit for 100 Crowns of Courage. I was actually just flying through to Texas. I was in LA at a Tony Robbins event, Date with Destiny. And so I was with actually a bunch of doctors that work directly with Tony Robbins for his events. And they were doing like an in-person retreat style, like virtual Date with Destiny. So it was really powerful. It helped me get back in alignment with myself and with my goals and with my mindset to really step into my power. Because it's been a really like crazy, scary year of like, should I do this? Should I not do this for like your business or your nonprofit? So it just helped me like get back into alignment and be like, yes, I know this is possible. I know I have the tools and the skills and the ability to really be a leader in the things that I want to do.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I've never been to a Tony Robbins event, but I've definitely seen videos, and I always find it to be really amazing when one person can hold an audience that big and create
Oh my
such
gosh.
a profound ripple where like everybody is in this like ecstatic shared state. Is that your first one, I'm gonna assume?
That was my first one, and I knew of him, but I never really experienced any of his events. And I was like, oh, he's just like like an entrepreneurial like influencer, but he's so much more than that. He's like tapping into the psychology and the spiritual and the meditation. And when we get aligned with ourselves, we can make anything possible.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I was really happy. I went to that event, and I was actually able to extend my Kickstarter campaign for
Nice,
another
nice.
week. So um, yeah, that helps me to be like, all right, great. I can do another jump start to the week to get the final funding in that I need.
Right. And we'll definitely be getting into the Kickstarter. But before we get into your specific work that you've been building on for the past few years, um, I feel like a lot of people might not actually even know what henna is. I know you were actually one of the first people to introduce me to it. I've kind of seen it before, but I didn't really know any of the philosophical or spiritual connotations. So, for the listeners out there who are unfamiliar with this art form, with this practice, what exactly is it? And how is it different from other body modification modalities?
Yeah, oh my gosh. Henna is one of the most beautiful art forms for not only adorning your body, but it can be used to um, as a dye product. So, like dyeing your hair, your clothes. Um, it's a 5,000-year-old art form that is actually made from a plant called Lawsonia. It is a kind of like a bush tree that has flowers that grow on it, but it's the leaf of the plant that is used to stain the skin. So the leaf is broken down into like a powdered form, and then when you mix it with water or coffee or tea, lemon juice, sugar, like there's lots of ways to make the actual paste from it with essential oils, and it's almost like mud going on top of the skin. And when it's applied onto the skin, onto this mud form, it will dry, flake away, and then leave behind a stain. And what it does is actually like permanently stains your skin cells, but you get new skin cells every day. That's why it's temporary. So it's a permanent temporary tattoo. It's so beautiful. And it goes, it originates from Egypt, and it was brought over to India during trade. And it's used all throughout like Northern Africa, Middle East, India, and then in the last like several decades, it was brought over to America, in the mixing pool of all the people. And yeah, I'm right now like my passion with it is bringing it back to its roots, which this plant was used medicinally for topical tumors, for like so many different skin ailments. It actually helps with regrowth of hair. You can ingest it if you want. It doesn't taste very good. It's kind of like a matcha style taste, and it's really meant to be a form of blessing.
Wow.
So, yeah. Do you want me to go more into that? I could talk about that all day.
Honestly, I find it fascinating. What you said it started in Egypt. Was it kind of used in like ceremonial usage, or was it primarily medicinal that kind of inspired them to start working with this plant?
Well, I believe it. I mean, it's so far back, so nobody really actually knows, the roots of it. But the first um, discovery was on Egyptians, like from the tombs. They actually had it like in their hair.
Whoa.
And they found it in a lot of like the scribes and the photos of these women having like these designs on their hands. I believe that like they would use it medicinally, and when they found that when they would mix it with like even just water into like a powdered form, and they put it on their skin, they realized that it was like sunscreen, right?
Whoa.
So when you have it on your skin, like even, you go to Cancun or something and you have henna, it'll actually leave behind a suntan line. So it's
Whoa.
protecting your skin and your skin cells. And it's also cooling. So it has a natural cooling material, like chemically in it. So it's cooling down your body. And I believe that, the women, when they put it on their skin, they're like, they don't like the blotchiness of it. So they started applying it with like sticks and twigs and creating lines and dots. And just like any form of tattooing, people do it because of a story. They want to share some sort of story behind why they're getting that tattoo. Now, traditionally, it was used not only for like protection of your skin, but it was used for protection of the spiritual realm. So it's protecting you from those evil spirits that can easily connect to your thoughts and what you think and what you say. So when they would apply it on their skin, it was protecting them, reminding them of their inner light, their inner beauty of who God had made them, and allowing them to manifest that. So every time they saw it, they're like, oh, yes, I'm protected. And I'm going to remember the true identity of who I am, which is pure, which is love, which is worthy, which is joyful. That's who God is completely love. And to protect them from those negative thoughts and to choose those positive thoughts and to bring them on a journey through whatever they're going through, whatever they're battling, if it's, their husband's leaving for a couple of weeks, if someone had passed in their family, if they had a celebration of a birth, they would apply this onto their skin and then take them through that journey of celebration of the things that they wanted to say, the things they wanted to manifest. And then as it fades, it reminds them that everything in life is temporary. Even your skin cells, like as a human being, we are a completely different person within 6 months or 7 months or something like that. Our complete cells have changed. We're still the same person. Our soul is the same person, right? But our cells are new. So within 7 to 14 days is when that top layer of your skin is gone, and that's why it lasts about a week or 2 weeks onto the skin.
Wow. So 2 weeks. Okay.
Yeah. So it's really its root form is to be a blessing, is to remind the person of their true inner light, which the word Mahindi in Sanskrit, henna, Mahindi means inner light, inner beauty. So it is just an absolutely beautiful, beautiful art form, and I'm so, so thankful that it has come to me in my life, and it has changed my life in so many ways, and other women that I work with as well. So I can share that with you at some point.
Yeah. So with the application of henna, are they kind of like spells in that there's specific patterns for specific uses? Like we see a lot of a very distinct style with it. And is there something that kind of inspires that style, or is it kind of just free flowing creativity in the moment? Or are there specific things that you're putting on to answer to specific experiences?
Yes, absolutely yes to everything you said. So, yes, there are specific styles in different parts of the world. So if you were going to go to Morocco, to Egypt, to parts of India, or some parts of the Middle East, they're going to have certain descriptions of even a line or a bump or a circle or a swirl, right? A lot of them actually interact with each other. A lot of them actually mean very similar things. However, I think ultimately it all comes down to the person. So the person that I'm working with, I can put my own interpretation in it, but ultimately it's that person's interpretation and what they want to manifest through it. So I think that as a henna professional and a henna artist, I'm doing a lot of spiritual work with the person. So when I'm actually holding their hand, there's an exchange of energy that happens, not only physical, but energetically exchange when you're holding space and you're holding someone's hand for more than 30 seconds. It's proven scientifically, there is an exchange that happens. And so what I like to do is to tap into that person and listen like a Christ consciousness, listen and ask the right questions to where I'm pulling out that inner light of who they are, breathing slow with them, and then adorning them and pulling it out onto the skin and reminding them of the conversations that we have. So there are symbols that I intuitively know what it represents. So I can create a story onto their skin, and then I do a personal blessing with them. at the end, and I do an affirmation repeating back everything that I heard of who they are, the inner light, that beauty. And then I go over the tattoo and I tell them like what it means, like for what I was pulling out. This is what the design looks like, means, and what this symbol means. And for them, they can create that own interpretation as well for themselves. If
Wow.
that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like you're praying for an extended amount of time, and then you're grafting the prayers onto their body, which I kind of like the idea that it is temporary, because I mean I think that really does point to the temporal nature of all of the physical reality that we're in, but it's temporary, but it also settles deep into their being, on one
Yeah.
different level. It was there. It's a reminder that they chose to enter that space, and it seems like a very vulnerable space if you're literally holding someone's hand for an extended amount of time. What do you?
Holding their hands, slowing the breath. So I get them into this trance of helping them lead them through a certain form of breath, and not only like I train them in it at first, but we sync up in breath. When you're around someone in close proximity, you naturally start to breathe with them.
Yeah.
So it's like that meditation of slowing your breath, and then also smelling the essential oils. And I do a lot of like, I look directly into their eyes, and it's not many people know how to truly have that authentic relating. So, like, truly listening and truly like being a mirror, and mirroring who they are. It's, yeah,
Wow.
incredible.
Yeah, I actually had no idea of the entire shape of the container that you're providing. I kind of thought that it was a little bit more of a casual thing. I mean, I knew that there was the element of like mindfulness and sharing space like that, but it sounds like, I mean, you're playing with their sense of touch, their sense of smell, you're meeting them in the eyes, and how did you end up developing this specific skill set? Is this kind of universal across all henna
Hmm.
practitioners, or is this something you've done yourself?
I think that is an amazing question. I believe that there are several henna artists that I'm connected to that have tapped into this naturally when they have been doing this a while and respect the plant itself and like love the plant. I think that through art and through doing henna as a form of meditation, it actually teaches you these tools to slow down. And when you're slowing down and breathing and loving and adorning yourself, you're going to start changing those neural pathways to truly love yourself. And when you do that, I believe it teaches you how to do it with other people on a whole nother level. And so I wouldn't say that I'm the only one that does this. No, I think that there are several other henna artists that probably do this as a form of ritual. But my goal is to be able to really tap in and teach other henna artists how to do this, not only for themselves for healing, but to bring healing for other people on a deep, authentic, relating way.
Yeah. It's interesting because it is expanding. It's art, but at the same time, the way it reminds me of the space that I hold for massage, in that it sounds like you're doing like a body work or like an energy work, as well as like it almost seems like the surface level of the art on the body is like just that, like the surface level, and like the real work is like so much deeper. Like that's the container that holds it. Not to be diminishative of the physical aspect of it, because that is
Yeah.
the layer that we are able to perceive, but it's like that is the top of the glacier, and then everything underneath is actually where a lot of this real work. Would you say that
Oh,
that's accurate?
100% accurate. I always tell people, I'm like, henna is just a vessel for me to do the deeper work. And
Wow.
it's truly a healing ceremonial, a ritual that I believe the root of this plant wants to be used as.
Wow. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of just reminds me. I mean, we typically talk about plant medicines primarily in relation to like psilocybin mushrooms or like ayahuasca or peyote and stuff, but I would have never have considered the henna. I'm sorry, what was the plant name?
Lasonia.
Alasonia. That is a beautiful name too.
Isn't it
So,
beautiful? I think I want to
yeah.
name my daughter that someday.
Oh, that would be perfect. Yeah, and I guess like adding that to the roster of these plant teachers. Oh my God, like that, my mind just actually blew. Like I could feel it leaking a little bit. Um,
I know it brings me to tears. I've been talking with some plant medicine people, and they think that it would be very powerful. I like to relate it to tobacco.
yeah,
Tobacco is a beautiful plant medicine, but it's been very much abused, and that's how I feel like henna has been abused. A lot of people use it as, oh, this is just novelty on the skin, and there's lots of bad henna out there. There's like chemical henna that have people don't know how to make it themselves. And so it's sitting on the shelf. Henna should never be sitting on a shelf. You should never just buy it like online. Like buy it from a supplier, someone that knows how to make it, because what you put in your skin goes into your cells, like goes into your bloodstream. So like just being aware and conscious of like what we put on our bodies are a temple. They're sacred. And not only like, it not only is it like topically on the skin and it's beautiful, but it's those intentions, those blessings, like go into your bloodstream, into your cells. And so, like, I mean, I could talk about this all day. Like Dr. Emoto's water experiment. If anyone's listening right now, look it up. It's the same thing with blessing water. Our bodies are made up of 70% water, and when we bless the water that we're drinking, I think that we're also blessing like the water in our bodies and our cells.
yeah,
So it's there's lots of science behind this.
yeah, yeah. And that water experiment is actually fairly famous at this point. I think my favorite band, Papadosio, even used some of the recordings from his like findings in one of their songs, "We Are Water." So I always think of that. So when it comes to sourcing, and I'm glad that you even compared it to tobacco, because I would also even go as far to say that you shouldn't be buying tobacco that's been sitting on shelves,
Right?
like finding direct sourced tobacco and like finding it ethically sourced is like really important, because like the tobacco industry, and I'm sure a lot of the henna industry is also, there's probably a lot of shady sourcing that goes on. So really taking the
Yeah.
time to get a well-honored farmer who is doing good work. Where do
Yeah.
you, would you mind sharing where you would typically get yours from?
Yes. So in 2019, I flew over to India myself for a month. And I was going there to speak at a women's conference about the nonprofit. And I also had a chance to meet with my wholesaler. So I actually went to Rajasthan in India, and I got to see the plant for my first time and like hold it. And
Oh,
I saw the process of like how it was made. And so I got to see the farm and meet the family that make my like the organic of the plant, and I have it shipped over to me. So I have an amazing source, and I make all my own product, and then I also sell it along with like teaching and training courses for other people to learn how to make it with the product that I get.
whoa, that's so cool. I didn't realize that you were
Yeah.
the one taking the organic source and then turning it into the product that you would then apply. That's
Yep.
really cool. Yeah, and
Thanks.
I'll definitely have all of your information in the details. So for those of you listening, check out the description because it's there.
Thanks.
Yeah, so where did you find henna? I mean, I know that you said in 2019 you visited the source, but I've known you for about 4 or 5 years now, and you've always been about this. So what has
Yeah.
been your personal journey, and what are some of the insights you've gained along that journey?
Yeah. So back in 2010, I was going to Kuiper College, and I was going to school for intercultural studies and teaching English as a second language. I had a huge heart for missions and for cultures. I was actually going to go into the Peace Corps, but I had to get my bachelor's first. So while I was in school at Kuiper, I heard of an opportunity to work with refugees in Grand Rapids. Now, Michigan is the third highest state to resettle refugees from all over the world, and I had this honor to get to know some families, so I started volunteering with a couple of social services in town, and I worked with an Eritrean family from Africa, and then I worked with an Afghani family, and then I worked with a Nepali family. Now, getting to know these families, there was one night, I think it was my air trained family, they had henna. And I walked in the door, I saw this lady doing henna on someone, and I was like, oh my gosh, my heart went right to my stomach, and I was like, I need to have this. Like, I got super emotional, and I was like, I feel like I know what this is. What is this? Like, I feel like I've done this in a past life. Like, I felt super connected to this art. And I didn't have that time to have her adorn me, but I asked her, I was like, hey, could I actually take one of these henna cones and practice? And she's like, yeah, of course. So 2010, I go home, I set out my table, and I was like, I just knew it was something really special. So I made it like really ceremonial, and I put my hand down and I started doing henna myself. And I was like looking at a picture that I could possibly like copy. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, I suck at this. Oh, I can't do this. And I was being really mean to myself. I was saying some of them, like, I couldn't believe what I was saying to myself. And all of a sudden I stopped. I took a couple deep breaths. My breath slowed down, and I was like, Amanda, just love yourself. You're going to get better at this. You know you're going to keep doing this. This is so beautiful. Who cares what anyone else thinks? This is for you. This is your adornment. And no joke, an hour went by, and I didn't even look up. Like, everything around me disappeared. I was like in this beautiful breath while I was like loving myself. And I remember looking up, and I was just in tears. I started crying. And I was like, wow, this is the first time in a long time I've actually like was loving to myself. I was blessing myself. Instead of, I was becoming aware of the negative like patterns that we tend to go down. And because I slowed my breath, I was able to consciously become aware of those thoughts and choose positive. And I chose to speak love over myself. And I looked up, and I was super happy. I was super calm. And I had dealt with a lot of anxiety and panic attacks in my past. And I realized how calming this art was for me. And I chose that moment. I was like, I'm not going to take these anxiety pills anymore. I'm going to use this as a tool and help me get off those pills. So I started taking a henna cone with me everywhere I went. And anytime I started to feel anxious, I slow my breath down. I would get back into that mindset and adorn myself. And all of a sudden, I just was so calm that I didn't have to go back on those pills. And I started having friends ask me to do henna on them. And I was like, instantly, that mindset pattern was like, oh, they're going to hate it. I suck at this, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, no, I'm going to stop choosing that mindset, and I'm just going to adorn them. I'm just going to love them, because who cares? Like, they're going to love just me being present with them. So I started doing henna on my friends, and no joke, like some of these girls I've known for 6 years, within 15 minutes, I felt like I knew them more than I did in those past 6 years, because I was being present, and I was being slow. I was slowing down enough to really listen. And I was using the tools that I had gained from Bible school about Christ and Christ consciousness, and just listening, just asking questions and pulling out that inner light, that inner beauty of who they are. So I just intuitively started asking, like, what are your passions? What do you love? What do you want to achieve in the next week or two? What are things that you want to manifest? And all of a sudden, I started actually hearing the true heart of the person. And it was so fulfilling. And even like my art, if you were to see my art 10 years ago, right? I'd be like, I can't believe people let me do that on them. But it wasn't even about the art. It was the connection. It was the spiritual connection. And when you change your mindset to be like, oh my God, this is so beautiful, they're going to be like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. And I had this awesome connection with my friend. They're not going to look at the insecurities or the flaws of it. They're going to see it as beautiful. And if I were to to stay in that negative mindset and just say like, oh, this sucks. Oh, I'm sorry. This is going to be bad. You're just reframing that person to think that same thing. So when you change your mindset and you begin to love yourself, how much more are you going to bring blessing and confidence and beauty and true like authenticness to another person? So that's what really that's what changed me. That's what taught me. Like this art has taught me so much. And even now I keep learning lessons to go outside of my box, to not think that everything in life has to be perfect, because there's so much beauty in the imperfection, and that it will open me up and guide me to doing something I never thought was possible. Wow. And yeah, so, I started this art in 2010, but it took me years before I changed my mindset and realized that I was made to be here to love and love what I do. And just go fully after what I absolutely love, because I saw that there was so much power and so much beauty in the whole true root and the mission behind this. I was like, I don't want to do anything else. All I want to do is connect and empower people and do art and remind them that there's a whole nother way of living when we slow down and we become present. Not think about the past or the future, just being present. And that's where life truly is lived in such a beautiful, blissful place.
Wow.
And yeah.
Yeah, it seems to me like hearing about your like roots with it, like that first time that you sat down and had all of those like negative self ideations, it kind of seems like henna was a container. It was like a mirror for you to kind of come home to the present moment, which was where you were in that moment. And it's like, it's not that it was wrong that you were having that negative ideation, but you may have not had anything to pull you into the present moment to show you exactly where you were. And it was that moment when you like, I feel like crap. I'm going to take a deep breath. And then it's like that moment where you're kind of like that transition between I feel like crap and I'm going to take a deep breath. That I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to speak in your experience, but my interpretation is that it was like that was the moment where you kind of stopped running away from it. And you're just, is that kind of accurate?
100%. Yeah. Because when you have anxiety, you tend to want to run away or avoid those feelings. But when we slow down, and we allow those feelings to come, you cry, you become present, you allow those things to be released. And then what's so great about henna is that it's an art form that allows you to express yourself, even when you don't have words. And I think that was what was hard for me, is that I wouldn't be able to explain to people why I was anxious.
Yeah.
So to be able to do an art just to express myself was so healing for me.
Yeah. And I also think that rich background of having the anxiety and the panic attacks probably equips you with the tools to better create a space for all walks of life so people can have equal benefit from what you're doing, because you know how to like read the signs of people's mental maps, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes,
100%.
You have to go through it in order to be able to hold space for it. And another thing that comes up from your story that I find interesting is it kind of sounds like you used your spirituality as kind of a foundation for you to be able to meet other people with where they're at, and then to mirror that inner light that you've kind of uncovered through your own spiritual practices to the people that you're working with. You're asking them what they're inspired by and what they're passionate. You're showing them the higher aspect of themselves that sometimes we don't have access to because of our habitual ideation. And would you say that's also kind of an accurate thing?
You know how to mirror me well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that anybody who's like in the flow of doing work that holds space, I think, I do massage therapy, so that's where I'm hearing a lot of the same corollaries. Because like as you're saying this, I can literally apply everything that you're saying to massage, even down to linking of the breath, and and I think that that's just like the work of being present. It's being present. I think it carries across all traditions, and different modalities. So I find your story to be really interesting. At what point did you go from I like hooking up my friends to now I'm in Art Prize, now I'm taking this to the public sphere? Like how did that kind of transition look, that expansion?
Okay, so this is an interesting story. I don't tell everyone, so this is special. Um, it was in 2016 where I had been working so many jobs, okay, just to make ends meet, just to like pay for bills and do things, and um, it was it was a lot for me. I was getting really depressed because I was like, oh my gosh, I paid this month. How am I going to pay next month? I did not like being in that mindset. And I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I felt like I had so much potential and so much love in me. I had given so much of my time working with AmeriCorps and like the homeless and this. I was like, but it wasn't really, paying me to live a more like healthier life. And I had an opportunity to work for this doctor who was like, hey, I would love for you to go to India with me and do this cultural training. And we're going to leave next month. He got me a 10-year visa to go to India. And I was like, wow, this is really happening. So I legit like left my job. I left my apartment, everything, so I could work for this guy. And he completely bailed on me. So,
oh my God.
So I'm just like, what the heck? What am I doing? Like, what am I doing in my life? All of a sudden, like everything that I thought I knew, I kind of just like, I just threw out the door. I was just like, what is this? What's life? And so I'm so grateful that I went to this Bible school for several years because I knew, I was like, the only foundation I have is my faith. And if I don't even know if this is real anymore, like, why would God do this to me? I thought he loved me. And so I heard about this conference in California. It was called One Thing or something conference. It was through Bethel Church. And I was like, you know what, this is my last straw. If God's real, like, I'm just going to go out there and just like, have this one experience to see if anything comes of it. So I flew out to California. I went to this conference. And if you can picture me, I'm standing there just completely like, I was just sobbing. I was like, God, do you love me? Like, are you real? Like, what's my purpose? Why am I here? Like, I don't want to be on this earth if I'm not like doing something meaningful and something like powerful that like I can be taken care of. And I don't want to have to rely on other people. I don't want to rely on some man to take care of me. Like, I know that I can do this. Like, are you real? And he's like, I got this download, right? I just heard this voice in my head that was like, what if I was just made to love? What if I was created to be on this world just to love? Love God, love people, love what I do. What do I love? And I was like, well, I love doing henna. I love the conversations I have. I love how it makes me feel. But how in the world am I supposed to make money doing henna? I didn't go to business school. I don't really know like what I'm doing. And I heard, Amanda, what do you have to lose? Like, you don't even know if you're going to be here tomorrow. Like, by the way I'm talking and thinking, like, why would I even be here? Like, why not just fully live and go after my heart, what I love, and just jump into it? Why wouldn't I be taken care of? Like, he takes care of the birds in the air and clothes the flowers in the field. Like, what do I have to lose? And I was like, am I just thinking about Bible verses because I went to a Bible school? Or is this like, am I going crazy? Like, I feel like I'm going psycho. And I heard like, well, just ask. If I'm going to ask. If you don't ask, you won't receive. So I just asked. I'm like, God, if this is really you, if I should just do henna and try to make money doing this, give me some sort of sign because I feel like I'm going crazy. And no joke, like 5 minutes later, as I'm sitting there just like asking, a complete stranger came up to me and she's like, hey, I really love the way that you're worshiping, and I felt like God wanted me to tell you he's given you a gift of art and he's going to use you.
Whoa.
And I just like
5 minutes. Wow, damn.
I literally just like fell to the ground and I start crying, and I'm like trying to explain to this girl like what was going on. She's like, okay, and like walks away. Like, I had no idea, like no idea what was going on. And so I was like, well, what do I have to lose? Like, I'm going to go after this and trust and ask. And I remember going down the Venice Strip and seeing all these artists doing what they love. And I was like, okay, if they can do this, I know I can do this. And I remember going home, and within a month, I started asking my friends who are entrepreneurs. I was like, hey, I really want to do this. Do you think it's possible? And I had friends, like, they were so helpful for me. I'm so grateful that I asked for support, because within a month, I was making more than I was a 9-to-5 job in one
Wow.
day,
Wow.
doing what I love and empowering women and connecting with them and seeing breakthroughs happen and seeing women cry and open up to me within 5 minutes of doing henna. And in that moment, I remember the first paycheck I got from someone, I said, okay, God, like, I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this as a mission, as a vessel to bring healing and to bring love. And that was it. That's where I just started my business called Happy Henna, and bringing happiness and healing through this art form. And I knew I wanted to do something more. So my first intention was to really do henna for girls who dealt with anxiety and self-harm. So like girls who had cut themselves and be able to cover up their scars with henna. And I tried calling hospitals, and I wasn't very confident at the time. So, they were like, that's henna. And I'd be like, oh, never mind. And like, And I heard about a salon that gave free services to cancer patients in Comstock Park, where I grew up. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go there and show up and show them what I can do. So they don't tell me to go away. So I went there and I was like, hey, can I adorn these women that are going through cancer once a month? And they're like, yeah, come and take a chair and like, ask if they want henna. So I started doing that, and I was blown away. Like, these women are some of the most powerful women that deal with the most anxiety. Can you imagine being diagnosed and your whole life change? Everything changes in your life. You can't go back to work. You have to rely on other people. You have to go to doctor's appointments. Within a month, you don't even look like yourself. Your hair's gone. Your eyebrows are gone. Your eyelashes, like, your whole body has completely changed, and you can't even look in the mirror. So, I started really tapping into these women who are dealing with some of the most horrific, like, life changes. And a lot of times they don't feel like they have a voice, that they can't even share or talk about it, because they don't even quite understand what they're going through. And they have to be strong for their family, for their kids. So I was able to see that this art was actually really, really healing for these women. Not only were they able to open up and talk with me, but it was a tool to have a conversation other than what they were going through. Because you don't want to talk about being sick 24/7 with everyone that are looking at you and making you look like you're sick, or like having pity on you.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a topic of conversation that was like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. Like, tell me about that. It was so refreshing for these women. And they were like, yeah, like, she reminded me of who I am. Not this outer part, not that cancer is my identity. Like, who I truly am is this beauty inside. Like, I love going to my garden. It reminds me to go to my garden. It reminds me, like, I would write hope, faith, love. I'd write Bible verses. I'd write mantras. And, every single day they're looking at it, and they have that choice to change their mindset. Instead of waking up and cursing their body, they can wake up and be like, yes, I love you. I love you, body. You're a temple. I'm going to speak love and healing over you. And that's where it begins. It begins with the mind. That's where healing begins.
Wow.
Changing those mindsets, changing those patterns. And then you begin to believe it. It's on you for more than 7 days. And scientifically, if you see something 7 times over, you begin to believe it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, it was through that salon that influenced me to do Art Prize. It influenced me to give these ladies a platform to share their story. And then it just took off from there to want to start a nonprofit.
The natural evolution of things. Wow,
Yeah.
there's a lot to unpack there, and I don't know where I want to start, because like every part of that evolution, there's something really core to what I think like the path of any seeker or healer has. Like the idea of struggling with the financial aspect of like, I really have an offering that I want to give to the world, but I'm afraid that I'm not going to be met with the resources to kind of sustain myself. And I think that that's kind of like one of the threshold guardians, if you will, that you have to pass through, which I think your faith probably equipped you with the tools to be able to like step beyond that veil and to trust that what your natural inclination is what is here to kind of float you across the rivers of life, you know? And I feel like a lot of people get really hung up on the financial aspect, especially artists, I've noticed. And I think a big part of it is just kind of like the relationship to the idea of like, I don't want to do anything just for money, you know? But it's like allowing your money to work for you to maximize the benefit for as many people as possible, I think is like a really powerful mentality and relationship to form with it. And I think, you know, by charging for what you do, I mean, that the first time you did that was probably what set the dominoes down to where you're able to actually start this nonprofit. You know, it's a necessity. I was almost going to call it a necessary evil, but it's not evil. It's a core aspect of living in this century and offering gifts. You know.
Yeah, and knowing your worth, knowing that you have done the work for yourself and that you do have something to offer the world. And I believe that when you know your worth, when someone pays for it, they're actually willing to do the work themselves too. So
Yeah.
it's like a give and exchange, and that they know that they're receiving something beautiful and powerful.
Yeah. If anything, they're paying for the opportunity to give themselves permission to feel a certain way that you're creating a space for them to be able to feel, you know? And
Hmm.
as my meditation teacher says, you don't want to send off like unguided missiles, so to speak. Like you're still kind of creating the space with the intention of like, what inspires you? You are a beautiful human being, vibrant, full of life and divinity. And so you have that intention as you're doing it. And that's kind of they're paying for the permission to view themselves differently, you know,
And
and
sometimes I feel like a psychologist working with people.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
people are literally like opening up and sharing a lot with me, and helping them take them through this mindset and this path to change that mindset.
yeah.
Hmm.
It's amazing how many different professions and vocations there are out there that are actually like armchair psychology. Like even, and this isn't diminishing any of them, but like even like bartenders kind of have to like equip themselves with the smallest tools to be able to like people are coming at you with all their neuroses at all times, you know, and especially when you create a container. If you create a container where like it's a one-on-one thing, you know, it's the same thing with massage therapy, other body work is like you have to develop the skill set to be able to skillfully help judo flip people's neuroses into a more positive framework. You know, that's just like, that's an aspect of being human, but you've
Hmm.
definitely created a space to accentuate that, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what was the first experience with adorning, which I love that you keep using the word adorning because that's not like applying. I said that earlier, and that's such a bland word. Applying, adorning. It's beautiful. It's I think a lot more accurate. But what was the first experience of adorning henna to someone who was going through cancer?
Mm. Oh, okay. So I think one of the first people I adorned, her name is Ruth. I met her at the salon. And when she sat down, she was really tough. She kind of had a wall up. And at first, I was like, I don't know if she's going to like this. But within the first like 5, 10 minutes of me like holding space and breathing and asking her questions, um, and like really like adorning her and like bringing out like who she started crying. She started like bawling in front of me. She's like, whoa, like I don't ever cry. Like this is weird. This is rare. Like she was kind of freaking out. Like why is this happening right now? And she felt so much healing and so much peace from it. And every single month after that, she would come back to me and be like, I have to get my henna. I have to get stuff from Amanda. And she is now one of my really good friends. And she's been a huge advocate and has been very helpful. And what's really crazy is that I met her after her hair had fallen out. So I actually didn't get to like adorn her head, but she was the first cancer patient that I had worked with to do this art form on her. And And it also shows like how powerful it is, not even just like having it for the head, but having that connection and that application and the meaning behind it for the hands. And the first time I did a henna crown was actually at the salon, and it was a girl that was actually about my age, maybe even younger, and she had to have her hair shaved off for the first time. And for women, our hair is our identity. Like, it's part of us. Like, we spend hours, working on our hair in the morning, and how does it look? Like, every single photo, like, hold on, let me fix my hair. And so to have it's stripping more than just like, your identity away. It's stripping a lot, like your emotions away. And I just remember walking into the salon and hearing this, you can feel the energy when someone's like sad, and hearing her cry. And so I was like, a little bit nervous. I was like, hey, your hair, like, this is going to be temporary. It will grow back, but how would you like to have henna on your head? Like, how fun would that be? And, like, you'll look like a warrior. You'll look like a princess. You'll be in a walking art piece. And, she started laughing, and she started realizing, like, oh, my gosh, you're right. Like, this is temporary. And, like, when else in the world am I ever going to have a tattoo on my head? And so that was, like, a super powerful experience for me, and to, like, watch and to witness. And she just felt so loved and like honored with it, and that it was more than just like having to put a wig or a scarf on her head, but to re-identify herself and to look like a queen. Like, if you've seen some of these photos, these women look like these goddess Egyptian priestesses, and and then it involved to like makeup and getting their eyelashes and their eyebrows painted on, and like a whole photo shoot where these women will have these images the rest of their life, and they can talk about it, and it can be a topic of conversation than what they're going through, and they can look back and be like, look, I found courage in some of the hardest times in my life.
Wow. That's so incredible, Amanda. And I'm imagining that that's so humbling and honoring for you to be able to be trusted to adorn like an actual crown. Like you're
Yeah.
applying a crown to, because you are aware of like all the psychosocial dynamics that hair plays in someone's identity, like that really is like a sacred opportunity that you're being able to provide these women. And it also like gives them like the ability to set their identity, like own who they are, where they are, with the cancer and all. It's able to like, here is who I am. I am not afraid of displaying the fact that, this is where I'm at. You're inviting them into the present moment of who they are, rather than like covering up. It's like that's an incredible, it's a really incredible practice that you have going on.
Thank
Um,
you. Yeah, and it's more than just a physical crown, it's a spiritual crown. Like, I feel like
yeah,
I'm literally crowning them with a spiritual mindset of knowing like that they're goddesses, that they're worthy, that they're
yeah,
beautiful, like what their true beauty is. And setting that stepping stone for them, and their journey and what they're going through, and protecting them, and like reminding them of that choice to choose love over fear, and to give them a platform to share their story. And it's scary to share it with people, like what you're really going through and what you're really feeling. But when you do that, you know how many doors open up?
yeah.
These women have shared, like, when I was able to share my story, Amanda, I had strangers coming up and helping me. I had people like providing me food. I had other girls that had been diagnosed that I was now a mentor for. I was
Wow.
now, like, I felt like I had a purpose, like, through all of this, that there is purpose in it. And there's meaning behind it. And I, oh, wow. It's just like some of these women have said, I would never wish cancer upon anyone, but I would never take away the experience I had, because it had brought a new awakening for them.
Yeah.
And it's a choice of that awakening, but it's definitely like can be life changing.
It reminds me of the phrase, are you familiar with Ram Dass by chance?
Yes, yes.
he, after his stroke, he said, "I would never wish the stroke upon anyone, but I hope that you would feel the grace that I've gotten from the stroke." And I think that there's definitely something really potent about that. And
That's
I
beautiful.
also like that you compared them to like the fact that they look like warriors, because for them, like the ability to be adorned, to be crowned, like the spiritual dynamic of that is stepping into warriorship. It's showing up and like really embracing who you are, even if it's really difficult. Like that is a warrior. Like you are actually initiating people into warriorship, you know?
I love that.
And I don't know if you've ever heard of the term of bodhisattva. It's a Buddhist term. And essentially, a bodhisattva is someone who's like essentially already enlightened, but they've chosen to reincarnate to help others. And that's kind of
Mm.
like what this kind of work is, you know? Like you've put your own needs for like material comfort aside so that you can help create this space. And yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and say you're very likely a bodhisattva.
Oh,
So
you're so sweet.
yeah, but
What an honor.
yeah. So how did this turn into the nonprofit that you're starting, the Crowns of Courage? What how long did you spend adorning people with crowns before you decided that you wanted to take this to the next level? You're talking about teaching other artists to be able to take this. You're becoming kind of an umbrella for other people to grow underneath, so to speak. What did
Yeah.
that transformation look like?
So it was during Art Prize that I realized the actual, like, really powerful impact that this actually has on people that would walk by and see it, even women that had maybe, gone through cancer in the past and say, like, wow, like, I wish I had this, or I wish my daughter, my aunt, or like, they had the same experience. And, like I see it in these women's eyes, and I see it, like, this this power and this courage that comes behind it. And so I was hooked. I was like, you know what, this is like so fulfilling for me to be able to give this art as a blessing for these women, that I had to continue doing it. And so it took me about like 4 months to get it through the paperwork to have it become an actual nonprofit. And I feel very like blessed and honored, because I had no idea what I was doing. Just like when I started my business, I was like, you know what, I'm not going to let not knowing what I'm doing stop me from doing it. And I know that, like, when I step into it, it's going to be hard, and I'm going to fail so many times. But that's where the lessons are. And so I just jumped right in. And it was 2017, that summer, that I began training girls and doing henna with me. So more so with me with my business, Happy Henna, but ultimately when they grew their skills up enough, they would actually like come with me to do henna crowns and adorn these women. Because I was taking them through that same experience that I had, that spiritual experience of life growth, of affirmations, of truly adorning and loving myself, and believing that I had these skills and growing those skills, even through, thinking that I had failed or the art wasn't good enough, like, and really building that confidence in myself, so that when it came time for me to adorn someone that is going through cancer, they're facing life and death. It's a very sacred space that you have to hold. And to be able to hold that space as an artist, as a person, as a healer, it does take some training to get there, to just really like be present and to listen, and to have like a calm enough space for healing to take place. And you could be a great artist, but you might be really horrible at like communicating with people.
That's a lot of artist
So
art.
yeah, so like training those girls on that whole mindset is a whole nother thing. And so so far I have 5 girls in Michigan that have been trained and certified and work for me, and like are now doing these crowns. And my goal now is to do this type of artistic life coaching for other henna artists, or even artists that want to get into this art form. and or maybe someone's listening right now and they're like, wow, that's so amazing. Like, I never really considered myself as an artist, but what she's talking about, like, I need that self-love. I want to work on that, and I want to find that presence within myself. So now I have all these tools, and I am now teaching and training girls who are interested to ultimately, like, even be part of the nonprofit if they would like to offer their skills back and to adorn these women.
Wow. So where are you at currently with the nonprofits like process and unfolding? What's like the roadmap as of right now?
So the roadmap right now is to get funding. I really need to hire people. I've
Yeah.
realized that I cannot do this by myself because I'm learning that I have certain skills that I'm really great at. I'm really good at being the visionary, like doing the art, like seeing like the whole purpose and the product behind this. But I'm really bad at doing the operations of this and making sure, the follow up, the timing. It takes a lot of work to do the organization of actually like setting up a crown, right? So if I'm going to be following my nonprofit process of these women are getting their makeup done, they're getting a photo shoot. These women are going through chemo. There's certain chemos that are a lot stronger than others. Sometimes they have to get them weekly, sometimes biweekly. When you're going through chemo, you're not going to be able to sit still enough or even want to leave your home to have this experience. So to be able to, find the right timing to where all these pieces connect to have this experience happen is, important. And I want to do this really well. So not only like have a team, like an operations person to help me, like the right like marketing team to help with the funding and like getting more, PR and the training tools and the things to equip to make sure that all these girls have the tools to be able to do this. I'm in the process where through my business, Happy Henna, I am doing this on a smaller scale. So people that want to like, learn from me and stuff, I can send them the product and I can do some coaching and training. But to get enough funding to like hire people to help with like the bigger idea and the bigger process of having artists in different cities is helpful. And then, paying for the product and ultimately my goal is to have each of the artists be paid as well.
Of course.
So about a month ago, I decided to launch a Kickstarter campaign for getting these books of these women's images and stories out into the public, as well as putting these books into cancer centers across the country. And I really should not have used Kickstarter, but it has been I've learned a lot from it, which I'm really grateful for because it has taught me to see things a different way, and it's helped me to really get focused really fast and to get that help and the support that I needed. However, Kickstarter is not really a platform that should be used for like nonprofits, right? And I thought in my head like, oh, these books are really powerful and like they'll get out into the world. Like who wouldn't want these? However, I don't think it really translated the way I wanted to. So I have not reached the amount that I wanted to, which is $30,000. However, I extended it an extra week, which I'm so grateful that Kickstarter is letting me do that. Right now, I have reached $8,000 for this funding. Now, with Kickstarter, which is unfortunate, if you don't reach your goal, you don't get any of that funding back.
Oh,
And I was like,
geez.
oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this, right? However, I do believe that it is absolutely possible to reach the goal within this next week. And if not, like I know that those people who have funded will probably fund, in a different way. But I'm still rooting for myself and for the nonprofit to reach that goal. And what's really cool about Kickstarter is that when you do donate and you give and you fund towards this, you will get something in return. So if you go to the link, I'm sure you'll post it. Watch the video because the video itself is very powerful. And then scroll down and see the options to fund And even if you were to fund like $22, right, you're going to get something in return. We're going to mail you something. You're going to get some sort of gift back. One of the most powerful gifts that I'm really excited about is I had put in for, if you give $444, you'll not only receive the book that we're making of 100 women with all their images and their stories. It could be an amazing gift for someone maybe battling cancer, or you could donate it. But you're also going to have the opportunity to learn henna directly from me. I will do a mini course with you to learn the art of henna, but also like the root meaning and the purpose behind it. To not only it be a healing form for yourself, but get you on the kick towards being part of the nonprofit. So if you're like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful, I love this. I mean, I've been playing with henna before. I want to go deeper, and I want to be part of Amanda's team to eventually become certified and be part of the nonprofit. So that's an amazing gift. I'm going to send you all the product that you need to have that jump start in being a professional henna artist. I'll give you the henna powder, the application tools that you need, the essential oil, and then I'll walk you through the whole process of how to make the paste, and the history and the meaning and the depth, and creating it yourself. And then I'm also going to be coaching you along the way to help you get out of those stuck blockages that you have for really adorning and loving yourself, and then being able to authentically relate and do it with other people. So that's a huge discount as of being a life coach and helping people can be several $1,000s, but I'm offering it for $444 for people that really want to use this as a practice to adorn and to love themselves, and then to ultimately do this for other people. So that's part of it. There's tons of other options. I'm really looking for bigger backers and donors that can help me get this last stretch in this last week. So I'm looking for donors that can, back this and fund this $5,000, $10,000. And even if you were to go up to the 10,000, I think it's like 8,888, I will fly to wherever you are. I will crown someone that's been going through cancer, someone that you love. Maybe it's your mom, your daughter. I'll go there. I'll crown them. We'll get them adorned. We'll have their photo taken, and they'll actually be placed in this book that will be going into cancer centers across the country.
Wow.
So how powerful and how beautiful that would be. Not only a gift, for your family forever, but to impact your loved one and to give them this beautiful voice, and to empower thousands and hundreds of thousands of women that are battling the same thing that they're battling.
Wow.
So,
Amanda, this work is so good.
Thank
you do
you.
such a good thing. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure that some of the listeners are going to be following suit, because what you're doing it's honestly really incredible. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you doing this. All the details are going to be down low in the description on the website. So is there anywhere else that they can reach you outside of the website and the nonprofit? Do you have other social media stuff, or?
Yeah, I have an Instagram. It's Henna Crowns of Courage on Instagram. You'll be able to see tons of videos of the women that have been crowned and little fun stuff on there. I also have a YouTube channel. So on the YouTube channel, I had an amazing opportunity to hire some videographers, and some of them even donate their time to show the whole process of what these women get to experience. So you'll get to see them coming in and getting their makeup on, and then getting adorned with henna, and then having this amazing transformation of being photographed afterwards. And it's so cool to see what these women, you can see in their eyes and how they hold themselves when they first arrive to when they are getting their photo shoot done, and they're so confident and they feel so beautiful, and for moments they forget they're even sick.
Wow.
So it's really cool, and you'll get to hear their story being overlapped throughout the adorning process in the video. So go ahead and check out Henna Crowns of Courage on YouTube. And then I do have some of their stories on my podcast, which will be coming soon. There's a couple up there. I'd like to, once I get enough funding with the nonprofit and, getting the sources and the help to really make this bigger.
Wonderful. And as soon as that like fully launches, I'll definitely plug it for you as well. I mean, not that I have the largest listener base, but if people are just spacey, it's 2022, 21, So yeah. Awesome.
Yes.
Well, Amanda, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Of course.
Talk to you soon.
Bye. All right, friends, that was the episode. Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end. If you check out the links down below, you can help support Amanda's Kickstarter for Crowns of Courage. And we will definitely be seeing you next week. I got something super steamy for you guys. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. All right, have a good one. Bye.